I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
Here's another young player that was actually named man of the match.
By the way, there are 4 or 5 man of the matches out of this one.
100%. Mason didn't even think he was man of the match. Who scored had Barkley. Willian was
NBC had Barkley. Chelsea's own pull had Pulisic.
So
it's a good day out when you can have 4 or 5 different people as a man of or Dan of the match.
And we'll still find a way to pick apart your poll. Don't worry, Dan. Mason Mount, man of the match, according to Sky Sports, because they had the coverage. So Sky Sports Stato tweeted, man of the match, Chelsea FC's Mason Mount, 67 touches, 7 of them in the opposition box. He completed 47 of 53 passes, one of them being a hockey assist to Ross, who then found Giroud. 87.5% passing accuracy in the opposition's half. And he was the only player to feature in all 33 Premier League games for the club this season. Yeah, Frank loves himself some Mason Mount, right? And I thought what was most interesting about this brief interview that Mason did, he was talking about the team's formation, but he was very honest and said, I felt like I kind of need to reinvent myself in this break. He's like, there's some things I felt like I wasn't doing a good job of. He's like, I'm really focusing on getting the ball, retaining possession, and keeping it moving. He's like, before I was all about hanging out around the box and trying to score and almost being a 10. He's like, I need to become an 8. And he was way more involved in this, Nick. He was all over the pitch, dropping back from center backs to get the ball, moving it. And the thing is, he doesn't lose his movement in the attacking third. His creativity, his movement is still there. So he's an 8, but he might be out on the wing for a second. And Christian and Willian are happy to come in. He's just the amount of energy, again, that this guy puts into a match is unreal.
Yeah, I want to know what his recovery looks like, because for him to come out match after match and do all of the pressing and all of the work off the ball. I mean, this is another narrative that, a lot of the NBC media has picked up, is just how hard he works for the team. And it's not always stat box stuff. You're not going to see, as many goals, assists as I'm sure he would like, but
who scored game a 6.6?
Yeah, they've had some really dubious ratings.
He was the lowest ranked, and I'm saying, and they are a stat only shop. So again, to put that into perspective, I just want to say that to your point.
On eye test,
exactly, it's important, when you talk about Mason, and especially in that role.
If you think about it, Cesc Fabregas was tweeting during the match, and he said that this game is all going through Mason or through Mount. And so, who am I going to trust? Am I going to trust who scored's player rating, or am I going to trust Cesc Fabregas for an evaluation on player talent of a midfield player? Who scored? Do a lot of good things. I think I'm going to go with Cesc Fabregas there. And I think to the point you made, Brandon, in the interview that he had, what he's doing in dictating play, the quick movement of the ball, winning back, retention, being able to drop in deeper and then come forward quickly, and the interchange, right? The problem we had earlier in the season when Mason and Pulisic would be on the same pitch is they would always gravitate towards the same space with one another. And this is one of the first times where I think you saw them fully complementing each other and understanding where each other was going to be, so that if Mason was going to retain the ball, that he knew that Christian was going to make the forward run. He could pass into Christian, then he would run into the box. Christian would pass the ball to him. And so the fact that they're starting to develop that partnership, especially on the left-hand side, it was looking really good there. A little less when Pulisic moved to the right-hand side, and then you kind of had Willian on the left. But either way, Mount proving himself to be, I would say, much like Christian, undroppable for the remainder of the season to close this one out.
And you also saw, Brandon, a thing, or at least I saw this, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it, when Watford had basically dropped into that block that they were not really that good at, to be honest. The trend that I saw is that Mason and Christian both took turns dropping extraordinarily deep to receive the ball, to start the move at, right past the midway line. And with Christian's ability to run with the ball and cut in and free up other players in that scenario, and Mason's ability to find the right pass, that might be a tactic that you see against some of these kind of low block teams moving forward, because just to stay in the same position all the time hasn't worked for us, just to be frank. So I think that is that's something I'm actively watching.
Yeah, it was just flowing. But again, I have to point this out. Not until the first water break. Watford were pressing more. Then after the first water break, Watford actually then dropped in a lot deeper. They stopped the press. So again, for all the people out there analyzing that put out their immediate match reviews and were like, easy, what? No, we looked not great the first 22, 23 minutes of this match. And it's because Watford were pressing us. One of the first things that happened was Kepa passed it to Christensen, and Christensen was running at his own end line and had to pirouette and clear it. Like, it was not an easy walk to this game. The fact that we got the goal when we did was massive because, again, we get it at the 27th minute. And it was a brilliant pass from Mason to break the lines, which we don't see a lot, especially when they're deep. Found Barkley. Barkley, quick. Giroud is right where he wants to be. And then a quick shout out to Giroud. He
Brilliant finish.
Teed up that defender, and it's so subtle, and you probably didn't notice it, but he actually hesitated his shot, so the defender went by him and then drug it to the far post. Like, genuinely, the class that goes into that finish. There's a lot that probably you on average don't see and don't recognize, but I can't stress that enough. As a defender and as a goalkeeper, I'm sitting there going, that's well done. Unbelievable.
Then Foster's unsighted because the defender's running right in his eye line right after that, right? So
it's a defender's job to cut off the far post. As a goalkeeper, you get middle and near post. And as he lunged to block far post, he just let him go by and then passed it in. Brilliant. So now
And shout out to Ollie too, because if Foster doesn't make some pretty good saves in this match,
Giroud should have had a goal by then.
Giroud should have already had a goal, if not for that wonderful foot save that Foster put into place. And it
he
just
gambled on that.
Levels up against Chelsea. Maybe he's looking for a new team this summer.
Well, Barkley. So the last of this trifecta, this triumvirate. Naz tweeting 3 goals and 5 assists for Ross Barkley in his last 10 starts for Chelsea, which is okay. If you're a forward, it's okay. It's actually pretty damn good. Ross, the preseason hero, is now coming good in these later parts of the season, especially in a time when we need goals. We're now getting them from a midfielder. I'm the worst, and you guys know this. Fine, we'll come to you, Nick, is that I see Barkley on the team sheet and I still go, I don't know. I was like, you think he's going to do it today? At some point, I need to get over that and be like, he's proving, he's doing the business. I still get worried every time I see Ross's name on the team sheet.
I mean, I think part of that though, right, is he's not been the most consistent player for Chelsea. I mean, these last 10 matches are pretty consistent with those stats. And the thing about Ross is that he's fit as a fiddle. He's not going to get tired. He's always available, and Dan and I both know what availability is. But when you assist one and score the other, the Sauce Barkley nickname gets reinstated. Clem and I had a really good discussion about that on Twitter. Dan even obliged me with a courtesy sauce for the goal scorer, so I appreciate that. Look, I think Dan, just to be fair to him, I think he played really well. There were a couple of moments that he might have even taken a little bit more advantage of that he probably wants back in this one. I would say this about Ross Barkley. Ruben's gunning for him, so he's going to have to stay on his game, especially if we're going to play in a midfield 3 with 2 8s. Mm-hmm. So, he's going to have to really step up. But, as of now, he seems to be delivering.
We got asked on Twitter by our friend JK from the Chelsea fan cast, Ross Barkley, wizard or dunce? And Ross, I think, is one of the most infuriating players to watch on this Chelsea side at the moment, because there are so many things that he can do well in that moment. The assist, the willingness to take the shot for that goal. There are not a lot of natural shooters. You know, when shooters are going to shoot, like, that's a really good thing. And it's nice to have players on this pitch who are willing to go and just have the audacity to uncork and go. Not the natural tendency for most of the players on this team. And then there are times where he looks like he's an app that's running and it hits a line of error code and he needs to reboot the full system before he can decide where he's going to make the pass go. And it's just so it's inconsistency in a match. He has a full game happen over 45 minutes where you can have the highs and the lows all play out. And so you get to see four sides of Ross Barkley in one 90-minute appearance. And thankfully today it worked out really well. I think if he could be as consistent as we want him to be, he would be, again, an undroppable player. I think he's still ripe for rotation over the remainder of the season here, because to the point you called out, Ruben is gunning for him, as Nick said, Brandon. And I think that Ross, this seems to be helping elevate his game a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to get involved in the whole nickname gate, this drama that's really tearing apart this community. I mean, the fact you make people choose sides is just ridiculous.
Oh,
but
there's the right side and the wrong side.
At the end of the day, while Barkley can be frustrating, he's doing the damn business, and you can't fault him. Like, to be fair, you can't expect him to get every decision right, but he's getting enough right that we're getting the end result. And so it's hard to drop him. And, like, think about this. No Jorginho, no Kovacic, no Gilmore. Like, this is – if you ever wanted to know, if you weren't buying into 100% to Frank running this team as a meritocracy, this is proof. Billy Gilmore ended the break with 2 back-to-back man-of-the-match performances, and we've not seen a lot of him since. Barkley has started the last 2-3 matches, something like that, and he will continue to start until he gives Frank a reason not to. Now, my flip side to that, as I talk out of both sides of my mouth real quick, is that with Watford, with Watford, I think you can get away with it because you know they're going to sit back. You know you're going to have more possession, so you need more attacking options. The good news for him is Crystal Palace is going to do the same damn thing. So I think he's benefiting from this run. Does Ross do great against City, United, not hung over Liverpool? Well, I guess that run didn't really work in the FA Cup. But, probably not. There might be some changes where we see a Kovacic come in who can retain possession much better. But right now, Ross is living his best life. Dude's still yacked, and he's going to goal. And it's great. Worst case scenario, Dan, worst case scenario, you just jacked his price $30 million. Worst case scenario.
That was going to be my point, is that ultimately Ruben, Mason, young Conor Gallagher out on loan, Barkley, all looking at that midfield, which also might include a Jack Grealish out of Villa heading into the next round of European competition for England. And Ross might be reading the papers also. You have Havertz comes in. He probably gets a lock spot in that midfield. And then maybe Ross isn't the number one choice on our team sheet. Maybe there is a team out there that's looking for him. There's connection to West Ham. I mean, it's, again, great as a rotational player, but the same way we talked about Willian, Nick, a player has to want that role or has to have a willingness to fight for a starting position. And in a team that's going to play 50, 60-plus matches in a season, you're not going to start all of them. And so if you want to take that gamble versus maybe going to another team in the Premier League where you'll be a nailed-on starter that's going to help you get to be the kind of first choice on the England team sheet, this might not be the best midfield for Barkley to be in next season. And that's a problem not for today, but probably
come on. I mean, get out of here.
And I think that's a little bit unfair to him right now, right? Like, just Willian we're talking about because of like the immediate contract situation. Ross doesn't have that same issue, and I would prefer to address that in our Keep Sell Loan episode than I will right now.
Bait it. I love it. All right.